Good evening. Welcome to Talking Politics. I'm your host this evening, Mia Scanga, and tonight you're going to be meeting four more of the candidates who are running for the Jersey City Board of Ed. Like I mentioned on our other show, which is streaming off our website, talkingpolitics.net, as this one is, we're going to be meeting with 8 of the 15 candidates who are running for the Board of Ed. I thought I'd just mention who the current members of the board are, in case you're not aware. Suzanne Mack is the board president, and she is in her 6th third-year term there. Sterling Waterman is a vice president, and he's not seeking re-election. Carol Lester, who you met on our last show, is running for a 1-year term. Angel Valentine is also an incumbent, has been on the board since about 2003, and he's also running for a 1-year term. So it's Carol versus Angel for that 1-year term. And then we have Gerald Lyons, who you'll be meeting during this show. And then the other 4, they've been on the board for about a year and a half, so their terms are not up, is Carol Harrison Arnold, Marilyn Roman, Vidya Gangadin, and Sanjita Renata. So that is the current composition of the board. And as I mentioned on the last show, the election has been moved to November 5th. It's part of the general election. So the polls are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. So with me now, I have to my right Jessica Daye and then Ellen Simon. So they're going to be telling you a little bit about themselves and why they're running for the Board of Ed. So Ellen, why don't we start with you, okay? Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for the Board of Ed.
Thank you so much, Mia. I was a career journalist and stayed home starting 4.5 years ago with my son, whom my husband and I adopted through a social service agency. When we brought him home, I realized that his family's struggle was now our struggle, and I owed it to them to fight for the children who have no one to advocate for them, either because their families don't speak English or because they don't have the means to spend time in the schools. So I've spent much of the past 4 years working for better schools, starting with the elections 3 terms ago or 3 cycles ago when I volunteered for Sterling, Angel, and Carol, and then continuing on to my co-founding of a group called Parents for Progress, which has advocated for expansion of the federally funded free breakfast program, and we've also advocated for cleaning up the school's water, which has been known to have issues with lead contamination for the past 7 years. I'm really proud to be running on the same ticket as Jessica Daye, Micheline Ami, and Carol Lester, all of whom are equally devoted to excellent public schools for all children, both ours and everyone else's. My son attends the public schools, and I'm also a proud PTA mom.
All right, wonderful. And what about you, Jessica?
Thank you, Mia. So I think there are 2, important reasons why I'm running for the Board of Education, and one is personal. So years ago when I was 5, I've been living in Jersey City my whole life, and I lost my eyesight at that point. And my parents, whose first language is Spanish, they advocated for me to attend a regular school, a regular class at PS 16. And from that point on, I've watched them and then learned from them how to advocate for myself in the education system. And I use those tools to carry me through academic, high school, McNair, I guess that's what it's called now, and all through undergraduate, even until graduate school, where I earned a master's in counseling and education from Columbia University. So taking that experience, I've been working as a bilingual special education advocate at a nonprofit civil rights firm, where I've spent most of my time representing parents who have children with disabilities in the New York City school system. And what we do every day is just to ensure that they have a right and they receive the services in order to obtain an appropriate education. And it sounds pretty simple, but there's a lot of challenges. You spend a lot of time making sure that children are in the least restrictive settings, that they have their therapies to actually make progress in school. And a lot of my experiences also involves parents whose first language is not English. So what I do with them is advocate on their behalf to make sure that they receive interpretation and translation services so that they know how their child is doing in school. Once again, it sounds simple, but it's something that a lot of the parents that I help do not receive, and I spend my days making sure that they do receive it. So these experiences, both personal and professionally, have shaped my passion to advocate on behalf of children. And now with a daughter in the public school system, I just feel that I want to bring those skills closer to home and continue advocating on behalf of students and also parents whose first language may not be English.
All right, fine. And Ellen, did you mention you have an adopted child? Is your child in school yet?
Yes, he is, and
Oh,
he's
he
in
is.
the public school.
Oh, he's in the public schools, and
Yes.
you just mentioned, okay,
Yes.
fine,
Yes.
fine. Now, have either one of you run for Board of Ed before?
No.
No, this is your first time for
Yes,
both. Okay,
yes.
terrific. And have either one of you, why don't we start with you, Jessica, have you attended any of the board meetings or committee meetings?
Yes, I've attended some of the board meetings this past year, just to get a sense of how it's, my child is just now in pre-K. So I just started getting involved in the school system when she started school. So I've attended just to observe how things are going, how things are running, and to really get a sense of what's happening in our school system so that I can actually speak knowledgeably of it.
Okay, fine. What about yourself, Ellen?
I've attended most of the board meetings over the last year, and then I've attended a series of facilities committee meetings, again, because I've been very interested in ensuring that this ongoing problem with lead in the water is addressed and fixed.
Okay, fine. Oh, that's startling. Lead in the water?
For 7 years, we've known about it.
Because they have old water fountains? Is
It's
that
not
it?
clear what the source of the contamination is, but I think finally this year, it took 7 years, the district tested every water source, including the sinks where pre-K kids brush their teeth. Were
Right.
tested this year for the first time.
Oh, okay. And what was the remediation process?
They have shut down contaminated sinks, contaminated water fountains, even in one case, a contaminated ice machine. And they've finally put in water coolers in schools that have these problems.
Oh, okay. They put it. Oh, so then they ship in the water. But wouldn't it have been cheaper in the long term just to put in new piping? Well, we should get into that.
Well,
but-
I think they have to establish first what the source of the contamination
Contamination
is,
is.
whether it's the piping, whether it's the fountains, whether it's the street water. First, they have to figure out where this is coming from.
Oh, okay, fine, because that's a pretty serious problem.
Yes.
Yeah, very serious problem. Okay, fine. Now, in terms of the budget, have either one of you had a chance to take a look at that, and what are your thoughts? Because, the taxpayers are looking at another 2% increase just on the school budget, and we all know that everybody's a little tired of this weight of property taxes on everybody throughout the city. Do you have any recommendations or thoughts on it? Do you want to start with you, Ellen?
Sure. I mean, it's a $660 million budget, and the last time I looked, it was larger than the budget for the entire city. One of the things we would like to see is a reorganization of the central office, because I think there are some efficiencies that we could wring from central office, which is supposed to serve the schools rather than the schools serving the central office. So that's one change that we'd like to see happen.
Oh, okay, fine. And what about yourself, Jessica?
It's the same. It is a large budget, and again, like I said, I'm just learning, and Ellen actually is a very good mentor. But it's the same goal, is to reorganize and also just to really look at it and see where we can, how we can, the benefit would be the students. So with the students in mind, I think that's our focus. What can we do that'll help the students in the long run?
Okay. Just a quick observation on my part. Last year, I used to get a lot of financial information from a woman I won't mention, but she said, no, I can't give it to you because it hasn't been released. Why don't you talk to the budget officer? Well, the budget officer has a secretary, and everybody's got secretaries. I'm in the private sector. The president and the CFO have secretaries. Everybody else has voicemails. I could not get past the secretary. And I said, well, put me into voicemail. We don't have voicemail. So here she served as a gatekeeper. I don't know what she did all day for a budget officer, because I'm a finance person. You don't need a secretary. Between Excel, Word, and voicemail, you're all set. So I'm thinking, how many more people have secretaries that do, and I remember once there was a report, I think it was by KPMG, I'm not sure, or the state, that there was an excess of secretarial admin staff of like 144 people. That's huge. That's tens of millions of dollars a year. Not that I want to see people get laid off, but after a while, people are losing their homes to these taxes. You know, something's got to give here.
Well, and I think the question is, does that help children?
Right.
Right.
Does that current system help children?
And I never got my financial information either. She wouldn't pass on my message.
Right.
Right. It was absurd. Yeah. Now, does it help children? Yeah, I can't imagine that it does. She had to justify her existence, right, by playing gatekeeper kind of thing. Okay, fine. In terms of civic, have you been involved in any civic organizations here in Jersey City, or just very quickly? Jessica?
Recently, I have not been. I've done a lot of. I try to stay involved with the community, and I do my own kind of community service. March of Dimes and so on. I spend a lot of I just had a baby girl.
Oh, congratulations.
She's really
Yeah, we
young.
saw her. Yeah.
So a lot of the time lately has been, obviously, as a new mommy, and just really getting involved with work. My work, it's not just a work day. I do a lot of work from home. That's my goal now is to kind of give back to the community and get more involved here at home. And I think I've done a lot of work in New York City that my goal is to bring it here. Years ago, I interned at the Urban League of Hudson County, spent a good time there working in an employment program, individuals who are getting trained for employment. I also did an internship at Christ Hospital in their child abuse prevention program, so working with children who are physically and sexually abused. So that my goal is to kind of bring it back home again and continue in those areas working.
All right, fine. And what about you, Ellen?
Well, as I said, I've been a volunteer on the last 3 school board campaigns.
Right.
And then I co-founded this group, Parents for Progress, which I've stepped down from to run for office. But we put together a newsletter and sent it out to about 900 people about what's going on in the schools, what's good about the district, and what can be improved.
All right, fine. Yeah, I'm the recipient of your emails. They're great. Newsletters. Okay, Ellen, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell our audience why they should vote for you?
I think if you vote for me, Ellen Simon, and Jessica Daye, who's from Greenville, and Micheline Ami, who's also running with us, who's from the Journal Square neighborhood, as well as Carol Lester for the 1-year term, what our plan is to look at everything that comes across our desks and ask first and foremost, will this help children? That's why I hope you'll vote for us on November 5th. We want children in this city to succeed. We want every child to have access to a quality education, every child across the city. That's our goal.
Good. And Jessica?
I think it's the same. Well, you should vote for myself, Jessica Daye, Ellen Simon, Micheline Ami. We have to say the names. Carol Lester. Like we said, we're looking at the students' best interest. Our question is, how does this help the students? And I think our goal is also to get parents engaged, more parent involvement in the community, in the school system, because we need the schools, the parents, and of course the students to work together in order to keep moving our schools forward. And that's our goal. We want to further strengthen our schools in Jersey City.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. So don't turn that dial. You'll be meeting 2 more candidates in just a second. And thank you both for being on the
Thank
show,
you.
and best of luck on the
Thank
election.
you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, these are our 2 final candidates that you're going to be meeting this evening, Micheline Ami and Gerald Lyons. And Gerald is an incumbent who's going to be running for a 3-year term, and you'll also be running for a 3-year term. So, Gerald, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running again for Board of Ed?
Okay. I'm Gerald Lyons. I am a teacher in Jersey City. I teach for the Hudson County Schools of Technology. This is my 27th year teaching in Jersey City. I have 6 teaching certifications and a master's in education, along with 100 additional credits education related. I started wanting to get involved with the Board of Ed about 4 years back, and I ran a few times because I was getting so many calls from parents and from former students saying, please, can you get someone into our school district, because they were fearful of sending them to other schools that weren't as successful. And I decided that it would be good if I could bring my education and my experience to the Board of Ed to try to help them to make our own schools better, so that kids wouldn't have to worry and struggle trying to get into a school because they were fearful of not finding success at another school. So my first motivation was for the kids, trying to see what I could do to help them. And then I said, it's time to give back. I've been teaching for a long time, and God has blessed me with a really great career, and I figured it's time to give back to the community of Jersey City, where I've been for the past 27 years. So that's my goal.
All right, wonderful. What about yourself?
When I first moved to Jersey City over 10 years ago with my then fiance, I don't think we expected to love Jersey City quite as much as we have, and we do. And when we purchased our home in the Journal Square area, we were thinking about children, but not about, what the schools were like. And after my son was born and we started to investigate the schools that we were zoned for, I think we were very disappointed in the level of education that was offered at the school. And also when we went to visit the school and the facilities itself and the cleanliness of the facilities, I engaged my then councilman and started asking questions. And to his credit, he called me back. We spoke at length, and I continued to engage and research and participate, and was still disappointed in what I saw. So Jersey City is where I've staked my home and my family, and where I intend to raise my children. So I decided to put my money where my mouth is, as well as my education experience and my professional experience in human resources, and bring those qualities to the table in helping to make things better.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Now, Gerald, you've been on the board for about a year, right? Now,
Yes.
whose position did you fill?
Marvin Adames,
Oh, that's right, because he accepted a position with the municipal court, was it?
he was made a judge, correct?
Judge, right, okay, exactly. So you've been on board for the year. So do you feel like there's any accomplishments that you can speak of in the year that you've been, because that's still a short period of time for you, in the year that you've been on the board, or other accomplishments in your career that you'd like to talk about that are kind of related to this?
Yeah. It's been a huge learning curve, and I encourage you, when you get on, to reach out to someone that does it and does it well, because Marilyn Roman ran against me in the last election, and I took every chance I can to tell people when I was running against her that she belongs on the board, that she is a really great candidate. She was my supervisor at one time when I was working for the district. And I went out of my way to learn this, because it was a whole new industry. I know education top and bottom, but I didn't know anything about being a board member. Mm-hmm. So I went in there, and we would spend hours together on Sundays, and she would tell me about all the things I should be looking into and learning about policies and procedures. And I became very, very active in it. And in fact, I started attending meetings in Passaic County, Hudson County, Bergen County with the New Jersey School Board Association, and then reached out to Trenton and Princeton, Atlantic City, and got so involved with learning, because every time you went to one of those, you would learn more stuff about your role as a board member. So I brought that stuff back with me. In fact, they asked me to be the vice president of the Hudson County chapter, because I got so immersed in it in the first year, which I now am, and working with that so I can learn more stuff. It's a huge learning curve. What I've been working on for the past year is I'm the chairperson of the special ed committee, and Marilyn asked me to sit on her curriculum and instruction committee, and we've been working together to try to bring more programs to the district, which will have more equity to different offerings. Like, for example, if there's some schools that have access to college level courses, to make sure that every student in the district has access to that. Any kind of programs we can to make sure that everyone has every tool available to make them successful.
All right, wonderful. And what about yourself? Well, you haven't been on the board, but what about like personal accomplishments or civic groups that you've been involved with as a resident here in Jersey City?
Sure. Well, I've been an active member of the Hilltop Neighborhood Association, which is where I live, and I've been a member of Jersey City Moms since my son was born, so for quite a long time. I've been involved in working on several campaigns throughout the years, and from a professional experience, I've been a human resources professional for more than 15 years. I've worked in a number of industries, and bringing that experience to the Board of Education, I hope to be able to leverage some of that, towards greater success.
All right, wonderful. Are there any particular committees that you think you might, when elected, that you'd be interested in participating in or chairing?
So, as Mr. Lyons stated so eloquently, Jerry stated so eloquently, I'm really interested in, in finding out more about the various committees before saying definitively, but I think that obviously one would be the Personnel Committee. Where I could definitely lend my expertise immediately. There are, of course, other committees with, through the years that I think that I could probably also join. But I don't want to be the person who goes, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. I think it's important to learn from people like you, to learn from people like Carol Lester and St. Gita and the rest of the board members and what they found over the years, and then also look where I could really bring my talents to making things, better.
Okay, all right, fine. In terms of like board meetings, obviously Gerald's been there for is it about a year?
September 9/11 last year I was sworn in. So
Oh,
it's a
okay,
little over a
fine.
year now.
So a little over a year, so you've been to all the board meetings and such. What about yourself? Have you attended any board meetings or committee meetings?
Yes, I've attended a few board meetings, and I've watched many of the videos. I love that they're available online to watch. And I've engaged and asked questions about the committee meetings, but I have been, yes.
Okay, fine. You were involved obviously with the budget and voting on the budget. What are your thoughts on it? It's like 661 million.
667.
667 now? Okay, the copy I got was 661, but I noticed the
Maybe we
numbers
cut
changed.
something last week. I hope so, but it's 667 last time I heard.
Yeah, well, I was told that it's kind of a moving target, but whatever.
Right.
Because it's available online on the Jersey City Board of Ed. I'll flash up on the screen the address, but it's a really long address. It's under departments, business and finance, and in the center of the page it says user-friendly budgets, about 50 pages, but it has a lot of
The
information.
user-friendly budget
Right,
is
I think
50 pages.
It's 50 pages, right.
That's just the condensed version.
Right, that is the condensed version. I think it's 300 pages. And there's a 2% increase in terms of taxes, which is the maximum allowed. What are your thoughts on the budget? I mean, because everyone talks about they want to cut this, cut that, cut whatever. What are your thoughts?
This has been one of my things I'm most upset about because I'm a resident here, I'm a homeowner also. And taxes are going to drive a lot of people out of Jersey City and New Jersey.
Right.
And I fought for us to be really considerate when it comes to spending. One of the issues that we just had, which I had a really hard time with, which I voted down, but it was passed, and everyone has their own reason. And when you're on the board, you have to respect everyone else's reason for doing something. You walk away, hope at the end of the day saying good night, get home safely. But I vehemently fought to stop us privatizing the subs. And one of the reasons is the cost. We're paying the subs $100 a day. We're paying the company that's providing us our subs back $35 a day. So the company, Source for Teachers, as now the manager of our subs, which we gave them our subs, are getting $10,500 a day to provide our subs back to us. And it was being done by our human resource department. Now, you know HR, and I think you bring a great wealth of information when you come from HR. HR can do this. This can be done in-house if it's done properly. And if it wasn't done properly, then you need to go into HR and say, how can we structure this properly? I felt that hiring an outside company is not going to benefit anyone. One of the big arguments was, well, you bring a pool of 7,000 subs into the district. This way you have all these different people. And that was one of my biggest arguments not to do it, because I don't want 7,000 different people coming into our schools. If you had your school, you have a child in a school, I hope that when that sub comes in, that sub recognizes your kid, knows this kid belongs here during this class time, people that don't belong. My whole thing with, first of all, being fiscal, but second of all, I just thought it wasn't a smart thing to do to bring more people that we didn't know into the building. I really think we need to cut back. I think $667 million is a massive amount of money. For that, we should be really doing amazing things. And if we're not, we need to see where we're spending the money, why it's not being spent appropriately, and make every effort to make sure that every dollar, I don't eat at the board meetings. If you watch any stuff there, I never eat because we have a budget for that. I don't think we should be spending that money. It's taxpayers' money for us to have food. I can pick up something way there. They give you a laptop and an iPad when you sign on. I refuse them because I said that's taxpayer money. I don't want that. If you want to use that for a classroom, a library, do that. But to me, that was a waste of money. So I really put my money where my mouth is and I say, I will not abuse it. I'm not here to take anything. I'm here to help. And I think we all need, every last person. I suggested we hire a company called PaperCut. And because I went to a presentation on that, and PaperCut is a company that comes in and says, we can identify every piece of paper that's being copied in your district and what's being wasted. 12 cents for a black and white copy, a quarter for a color copy. If you multiply that by 29,000 students and 3,000 employees, you could probably save millions of dollars a year if you did stuff like that. But people have to get behind this and get it moving. You're in HR. You know all the things you could do in your department to make this place run better. I hope that all of us would work together to make it more fiscally responsible and to make the schools better. And part of that's going to be us looking at everything we do.
Right, right. But I do want to comment that a seat on the board there's no compensation,
Nothing.
okay? There's no compensation, there's no paid health insurance, there's nothing. So it's an
No
act of
pension,
love.
nothing.
No pension, no nothing. So it's really an act of love. Some people have used it as a stepping stone to higher office. We've had a few of those that come and go within a year because they run for assembly, what have you. But it is an act of love because there is no compensation at all.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Right,
Yeah,
and also,
very important.
from what I hear, you could spend anywhere from 5 to 20 hours a week between the board meetings and your.
If you're going to do it right.
Right, if you're
it's-
gonna
it's a
do it
big
right.
commitment. You can have your son
Right.
sitting there or your daughter, but I'm not sure what you have, but sitting there with you while you're going through the books, highlighting all the things that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Which I think
exactly.
you can multitask. I'm getting that impression. You can multitask.
Do you think?
All right. Now, your son or daughter is in public school?
I have a son and I have a daughter. My daughter is 3, my son is 5, and they are
Oh,
not in
okay.
public school.
Oh, they're not in public
Yes,
school?
my daughter's 3.
Okay, well, that's too early for her.
Yes, and my son is in private school right now. And that's
Okay.
another reason why I decided to get involved, is that I would very much love to be sending my son to a public school. I'd love to send my son to school in Jersey City, public school.
Right.
And I would like to make it so that the schools are best in class here, the public schools, and that every parent can be proud to send their child to public school.
All right, fine. Well, we're running out of time. Why don't we start with you, Gerald? Obviously, there are 15 people running. 2 are running for a 1-year term, and then the other 12 are running for a 3-year term. You're being one of them, both of you. Why should people vote for you?
I've proven that this is something that I'm taking very seriously. I bring a wealth of experience with education. I've had over 3,000 students of my own in the last 27 years. And when I signed onto the board, I decided now I have 29,000 more students, that this is not for my kids, my school. This is for the entire district. And everything that I do when I'm on the board is thinking about how we can improve everyone in the district's ability to succeed. I've made this a commitment of time, and like you said, Mia, this is a huge commitment of time. You realize that your Sundays are no longer your Sundays. Usually you're going to be spending 5 hours sitting there going through massive documents. The last month we got about 8 inches worth of documents that you try to go through. And then you work with other board members saying, hey, if you bone up on this, and I'll take a look at this stuff here. I've proven I'm devoted, and I've proven that I'm a team player. When I lost last year, the first thing I did was send an email to Sangeeta saying, good luck to you, and if there's anything I can do to help you, I will. It is not just about you. You are one of 9, and the goal is to work with everyone.
All right, fine. Micheline, tell us why should people vote for you?
Sure.
Because obviously you guys are running against each
We
other.
are running against each other, and even as I listen to him, I say, he brings a lot of credibility, obviously, and he has done a lot for the board. I think when you look at education in Jersey City and you look at the responsibilities as a Board of Education, there's a lot to be balanced there, and I understand that I will bring a lot to that role. I don't have, obviously, the resume that you do in terms of your 1 year on the board, but I believe that once I'm on the board, bringing the expertise and professionalism to the board, and working in partnership also with parents, with teachers, with the community, and with the superintendent, and of course with my fellow board members, to make sure that we're moving forward the things that are going to make an impact for all students, and to make Jersey City Public Schools the best in class.
Good for you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Mia, the one thing that's been great, this is the 4th time I've actually been out there running in one level or another, is that everyone I've always met, it's a volunteer job, and everyone always seems to be. You said there's some exceptions from time to time. People might have some other, but it's people that are volunteering and do what we can for the kids, and there's nothing
Yeah.
more you can ask for.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So best of luck to both of you.
Thank
The
you.
election is Tuesday, November 5th, and the polls are open from 6 a.m. I wouldn't be there at 6 a.m., but 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sometimes the poll workers are a little late. And if you haven't registered to vote, you have until October 15th to register. And if you've moved, you have until that date. You can do it online or in person at the County Administration Building at their new compound. So thank you so much for both being
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
on.
providing this forum. I
You're
appreciate
quite
it.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're quite
And it's been a
welcome.
real pleasure meeting you.
And best of
Good luck
luck.
to
You
you.
as well.
Thanks.